Hi, I'm Dave with one adventure at a time. Today I'll be installing a seat swivel to the driver's side seat of our Ram ProMaster 2017. I'll show you what tools you need and what steps I've taken to get the job done. If you feel uncomfortable doing this job, you might want to hire a professional to do it. We will be working around the airbag, and if something goes wrong, that airbag could deploy and be expensive and cause damage. So with that, let's get started. These are the tools you'll need to do this job. A stubby flathead screwdriver or a quarter will work just fine. A pair of wire cutters, a 5mm Allen wrench and a 6mm Allen wrench. I've got a T40 torque bit on the end of this ratchet, and I've also got an additional 6mm Allen head. Got 5 plastic wire ties and a flashlight. The first thing we need to do is locate the battery. So it's on the driver's side on the floor, and we're going to remove that cover so we can access the battery. And the only tool we're going to need to do that is either a quarter or the little stubby screwdriver. So the first one here, all we have to do is turn this button 90 degrees to where it will lift up. And you can see it lift right up. And then we'll go to the little plastic threads or the screws and give those a turn. Once we've got those all loosened, I'm just going to pry it up a little bit to where I can get my hand in there. And there's 2 tabs up here. There's one tab here and one tab here. So we want to pull those out. So we're going to pull this toward the seat. Give it a little jerk, it unsnaps, and then we remove the cover. Now that we've got the battery cover removed, we're going to disconnect the negative lead from the battery and wait 10 minutes. This is extremely important. If you don't wait the proper amount of time, there is a chance that you could deploy the airbag and cause damage, and it could also be very expensive to get fixed. Now the 2017 Ram ProMaster makes this really easy. It has a quick disconnect on the battery. Okay, so the quick disconnect is a lever right here, right by the post. And all I got to do is push my thumb on that, and then it snaps loose. And then I'll just easily shake this and pull it right off. And then you're going to want to tuck this away somewhere where it's not going to sit back down on that post. Now we're going to go ahead and wait our 10 minutes, maybe even a little bit longer. We've waited our 10 minutes plus, so now it's time to get the 2 plugs underneath the driver's side seat, and they're the ones that are closest to the door. One's yellow and one's orange, and we're going to disconnect these and go to the next step. It's hard to show these 2 cable connections when the chair is there, so we're going to go ahead and show you now that we've got it removed. What you have is a purple tab that slides. So we're going to slide this all the way back, and then this separates right in the middle. So you have to hold it tight to the back and then release it. And then when you go to put them back together, you'll hear that nice satisfying snap, and you know that they're connected. So once again, pull the purple and then disconnect. Now that we unplugged the 2 wire plugs, we're going to cut all the plastic ties on the wires and free those up from the seat. Now this does take a little bit of patience because you want to make sure that you're cutting the plastic wire ties and not cutting the wires. So follow those wires, make sure they're no longer attached to the seat, and we'll move on to the next step. Now that we cut all the wire ties and removed the wires away from the seat, we'll be able to remove the seat without breaking or damaging any of the wiring. So there's 6 screws here in the seat. There's 2 in the front, there's 1 here, and there's 1 on the other side, and there's 4 in the back. So we're going to slide the seat forward and remove those 4 screws in the back. To remove these bolts, we'll be using a T40 torque bit and a wrench. These bolts you can recycle after you remove them. This kit comes with 6 brand new bolts, and you'll have to use those for the install. So let's start with the back. Okay, now we're going to move to the front of the seat and get the last 2 bolts. To release the seatbelt flange on this part of the seat right here, the seat has to come directly back. So it's a very good idea to consider putting in your swivel before you build anything behind it. In our situation, we're going to have to remove our couch, so that extra step is probably going to take us close to an hour. The seat belt is hooked to a metal flange, and if you look down here, this metal flange is on a track, and so this has to come straight back a couple of inches before you can get the seat out. So we're going to pull it back and see if we can remove the seat. Pretty easy. Before you go through the trouble of putting the swivel on, if you're using this Sportscraft brand of swivel, then the ProMaster stock base seat has this bar that goes across, and it has, if you bend it down just a little bit, then the swivel won't actually rub on it. Otherwise, it can keep the swivel from swiveling smoothly. So this is very technical, so this is how I'm going to do it. And that's all there is to it. That's going to save a big hassle later on. All right, we're going to stick the swivel on the seat. We're going to start off using the 6 tapered bolts and get them all started at the same time just to make sure everything lines up. Now once we offset the swivel, if I turn it this direction, I really don't have clear access. I've got access to all the holes except for this inner one. But if I swivel the seat the other way around, I've got full access to both sides and the front. So I'm going to go with that, and I'm going to start all 6 screws. Now we're going to grab our 5mm Allen wrench and tighten those down. Now that we have all the bolts in nice and tight, we're going to give it a test just to make sure it's nice and smooth. All the bolts are flush. So yeah, this feels good. That's a nice swivel. And we would have had problems had we not bent that bar down. So the next step is to get the seat on, and this time we'll be using these holes here to mount the seat on. There's 6 of them. There's 2 in the back on each side, and there's 1 in the front on each side. And the big hole in the middle, that's where we will be feeding our wires that go for that yellow and orange plug. Now that we've got the seat on the swivel, don't worry about the wires. We'll run all those later. We're going to start with the front 2 bolts. These are socket bolts, and they're 6mm Allen wrenches. So we're going to start with the 2 front ones, get those in, slide the seat forward, and then do the 4 that are in the back. We got the front 2 bolts started, and I pushed the seat forward, so now we just have the 4 left in the back. Now these were a bit tricky. Just make sure you take your time, you get them all started without stripping any, and then just tighten them down. Now that the seat is completely installed, we're going to hook up the orange and the yellow connector. We're going to tidy up the wires a little bit, but leave enough slack to where the seat can still slide front and back without putting extra pressure on those wires. Then all we have to do after that is connect the battery back up, put the cover on, and we're done. That was a fairly easy project, made a lot more complicated by us having to move our couch out of the van to install the seat, but boy, I think it's worth it. The van feels so much bigger and open and more comfortable. I hope you found this video helpful. If you liked it, please give us a thumbs up, and we'll keep making more of these kind of videos.